Hello and thanks for joining us. Holly Shields here live from Kalkine Studios in Sydney, and you're watching the early trades. Let's kick it off with our market open report. Australian shares have jumped 0.2% in the opening minutes of trading as the benchmark index inches closer to its record intraday high. Macquarie extended its rally, rising 2%, while Commonwealth Bank added 0.7% and NAB an identical 0.7% as well. Plus, Westpac doubled with 0.7% and ANZ climbed 1.1% as well. And Platinum Asset Management is leading the market, rising 3.1%. Santos following close behind, climbing 1.4%, and Magellan adding 0.9%. Then BNPL stocks were among the biggest laggards today as Afterpay declined a staggering 4.2% and Zip as well 2.8%. Yesterday, the benchmark index was up by 2% on the first day of trading in 2022. All 11 ASX sectors finished higher, with the energy and mining sectors leading the pack. Then in other news, there were around 48,000 new COVID cases across all the Australian states on Tuesday, a new national record. But experts believe that we won't reach peak levels until a few months from now. Then on the economic data front, the ANZ monthly job applications report will be released later today. And looking at some important news coming in from the energy sector, the US has become the world's #1 exporter of liquefied natural gas for the first time ever last month, as deliveries surged to energy-starved Europe. Output from the American facilities edged above Qatar in December after a jump in exports from the Sabine Pass and Freeport facilities, according to a ship tracking data compiled by Bloomberg. Cheniere Energy said last month that a new production unit at its Sabine Pass plant in Louisiana produced its first cargo. And then Australia is expected to reclaim its title as the world's biggest exporter of liquefied natural gas after shipments hit a record high last year amid a huge rally in global energy demand and prices. Cargoes of these super chilled fossil fuels from Australia rose to an estimated 80.9 million tonnes in the 2021 calendar year. This was beating the nation's pre-pandemic levels of 77 million tonnes and likely exceeding output from the second biggest LNG shipper, Qatar. Now moving on to the energy space, OPEC and allied oil producing countries plan to stick with their roadmap to slowly restore cuts in output made during the depths of the pandemic, including adding 400,000 barrels per day in February. Oil prices have rallied more than 1% overnight after this announcement. Analysts have been expecting the move amid signs that the Omicron COVID-19 variant won't be having a severe impact on oil demand. And now before we move on to some more important updates from ASX-listed companies, let's take a short break.
Hi, I'm Sage, and get ready to take the crypto ride with me on Kalkine TV. Watch the Crypto Buzz every Tuesday and join the excitement at Kalkine TV. From Bitcoins to NFTs to Dogecoin and DeFi, we have updates about everything around these digital currencies. Understand the investing rationale and the risks involved in the space with me, Sage, on Crypto Buzz. Keep watching Kalkine TV.
Welcome back to the early trades. Moving on to the newsmakers now, and CIMIC Group's Leighton Asia has been awarded a contract to build a data center campus in Jakarta, Indonesia, for a multinational tech corporation. The contract will generate revenue of around $103 million for Leighton Asia. Construction works comprise the delivery of site infrastructure for the campus, a data center building with 2 data halls and associated buildings for storage, security and other operational facilities, as well as mechanical, electrical and plumbing services, facade and external works. Then in other news, telecommunications innovator Vonex has completed its acquisition of Voitech. Voitech is an established provider of voice and internet services to SME customers in South Australia. Founded in 2009 by telecommunication industry veteran Declan O'Callaghan, Voitech's established presence across several niche verticals and its strong standing in the SA market will launch Vonex into a new geographical region, which presents, of course, exciting growth opportunities. And meanwhile, Tyro Payments has announced the appointment of Claire Haddon and Shafai Roy to its board of directors with immediate effect. Roy was the Chief Operating Officer at TrueLayer, and prior to that, she held senior leadership roles in operations, compliance, and regulatory affairs at Stripe, Apple, Christie's, and Goldman Sachs. And Haddon spent several years on the Google Australia commercial leadership team before transitioning into a portfolio career at non-executive roles. Well, before we wrap up the show, some big news coming in from Canberra. Australia and Japan are to sign a landmark defence pact. Tokyo's top diplomat in Canberra has declared that a landmark defence pact between the two countries will send a strong message of deterrence to a more aggressive China. The agreement will open way for the two countries' militaries to step up joint training and hosting each other's forces. The long-awaited reciprocal access agreement between Australia and Japan is expected to be signed on Friday, even though the Japanese PM Fumio Kishida cancelled a trip to Sydney and a meeting with Scott Morrison because of COVID concerns. The two leaders will instead hold a virtual summit. And as well as China, they're going to discuss trade, supply chains, and the emerging hydrogen industry's role in mitigating climate change. Well, that is all for now on the early trades, but stay tuned to Kalkine TV as we have many more shows lined up for you today, sharing live updates across economy, markets, and sectors. This is Holly Shields signing off.